Well, good morning, friends. Welcome. It is Tuesday morning, 6:33 in the morning, and we are here for Bible Stories, live to you on Twitch and coming to you later on YouTube and Twitch VODs. Hope you are doing well. Hope you have a great time. I know we haven't been here for a couple days, it's been a week, so let's just do a quick recap of where we've been, and then we'll get started on where we're going today. And good morning. Good morning. Good morning, Cheese. Good morning, Spacey. Good morning to everyone out there. Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back. It was a lot of travels the last couple weekends, but hopefully we'll settle in for a couple until some other summer activities come our way. So today we're going to read 1 Samuel 16 through 20. So Samuel is the last judge of Israel. He has his own book. He's also a prophet. And he's really old now. The people didn't want him to be ruler anymore because he was old and his sons weren't like him. So they didn't want it to just pass down hierarchy family line. And they said, let's have a king. And Saul was anointed the first king of Israel. And Saul is he stands out above everyone else. He's taller, he's handsome, he's wonderful in some ways externally. But Saul definitely has a people-pleasing issue. And he's got plenty of other issues that we're going to see along the way. He has helped them defeat some of the enemies, though, which is what they wanted at the end of the day. So they've kind of got what they wanted. But the kingdom brings about other kinds of issues that weren't meant to be originally. So the last thing is, because Saul is so insecure and he starts taking matters into his own hands a lot without consulting God, which is not a great little mirror into our own lives. So let's look at that, and then we're going to see maybe a little difference starting today. And today we're going to read one of, if not maybe the most well-known, famous stories in all the Bible. So, good morning, Eric. Good to see you. All right, so let's get going. Now the Lord said to Samuel, "You have mourned long enough for Saul. I have rejected him as king of Israel. So fill your flask with olive oil and go to Bethlehem. Find a man named Jesse who lives there, for I have selected one of his sons to be my king." But Samuel asks, "How can I do that? If Saul hears about it, he will kill me." "Take a heifer with you," the Lord replied, "and say that you have come to make a sacrifice to the Lord. Invite Jesse to the sacrifice, and I will show you which of his sons to anoint for me." So Samuel did as the Lord instructed. When he arrived at Bethlehem, the elders of the town came trembling to meet him. "What's wrong?" they asked. "Do you come in peace?" "Yes," Samuel replied. "I have come to sacrifice to the Lord. Purify yourselves and come with me to the sacrifice." Then Samuel performed the purification rite for Jesse and his sons and invited them to the sacrifice too. When they arrived, Samuel took one look at Eliab and thought, "Surely this is the Lord's anointed." But the Lord said to Samuel, "Don't judge by his appearance or height, for I have rejected him. The Lord doesn't see things the way you see them. People judge by outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." Then Jesse told his son Abinadab to step forward and walk in front of Samuel. But Samuel said, "This is not the one the Lord has chosen." Next, Jesse summoned Shimea. But Samuel said, "Neither is this the one the Lord has chosen." In the same way, all 7 of Jesse's sons were presented to Samuel, but Samuel said to Jesse, "The Lord has not chosen any of these." Then Samuel asked, "Are these all the sons you have?" "There is still the youngest," Jesse replied, "but he's out in the fields watching the sheep and goats." "Send for him at once," Samuel said. "We will not sit down to eat until he arrives." So Jesse sent for him. He was dark and handsome, with beautiful eyes. And the Lord said, "This is the one, anoint him." So as David stood there among his brothers, Samuel took the flask of olive oil he had brought and anointed David with the oil. And the Spirit of the Lord came powerfully upon David from that day on. Then Samuel returned to Ramah. Now the Spirit of the Lord had left Saul, and the Lord sent a tormenting spirit that filled him with depression and fear. Some of Saul's servants said to him, "A tormenting spirit from God is troubling you. Let us find a good musician to play the harp whenever the tormenting spirit troubles you. He will play soothing music, and you will soon be well again." "All right," Saul said, "find me someone who plays well and bring him here." One of the servants said to Saul, "One of Jesse's sons from Bethlehem is a talented harp player. Not only that, he is a brave warrior, a man of war, and has good judgment. He is also a fine-looking young man, and the Lord is with him." So Saul sent messengers to Jesse to say, "Send me your son David the shepherd." Jesse responded by sending David to Saul, along with a young goat and a donkey loaded with bread and a wineskin full of wine. So David went to Saul and began serving him. Saul loved David very much, and David became his armor-bearer. Then Saul sent word to Jesse, asking, "Please, let David remain in my service, for I am very pleased with him." And whenever the tormenting spirit from God troubled Saul, David would play the harp. Then Saul would feel better, and the tormenting spirit would go away. The Philistines now mustered their army for battle and camped between Succoth and Judah and Esca at Ephes Dammim. Saul countered by gathering his Israelite troops near the valley of Elah. So the Philistines and Israelites faced each other on opposite hills with the valley between them. Then Goliath, a Philistine champion from Gath, came out of the Philistine ranks to face the forces of Israel. He was over 9 feet tall. He wore a bronze helmet, and his bronze coat of mail weighed 125 pounds. He also wore a bronze leg armor, and he carried a bronze javelin on his shoulder. The shaft of his spear was as heavy and thick as a weaver's beam, tipped with an iron spearhead that weighed 15 pounds. His armor-bearer walked ahead of him carrying a shield. Goliath stood and shouted a taunt across to the Israelites. "Why are you all coming out to fight?" he called. "I'm the Philistine champion, but you are only the servants of Saul. Choose one man to come down here and fight me. If he kills me, then we will be your slaves. But if I kill him, you will be our slaves. I defy the armies of Israel today. Send me a man who will fight me." When Saul and the Israelites heard this, they were terrified and deeply shaken. Now David was the son of a man named Jesse, an Ephrathite from Bethlehem in the land of Judah. Jesse was an old man at the time, and he had 8 sons. Jesse's 3 oldest sons, Eliab, Aminadab, and Shimea, had already joined Saul's army to fight the Philistines. David was the youngest son. David's 3 oldest brothers stayed with Saul's army, but David went back and forth so he could help his father with the sheep in Bethlehem. One day Jesse said to David, "Take this basket of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread and carry them quickly to your brothers, and give these 10 cuts of cheese to their captain. See how your brothers are getting along and bring back report on how they are doing." David's brothers were with Saul and the Israelite army at the valley of Elah fighting against the Philistines. So David left the sheep with another shepherd and set out early the next morning with the gifts, as Jesse had directed him. He arrived at the camp just as the Israelite army was leaving for battle with shouts and battle cries. Soon the Israelite and Philistine forces stood facing each other army against army. David left his things with the keeper of the supplies and hurried out to the ranks to greet his brothers. As he was talking with them, Goliath, the Philistine champion from Gath, came out from the Philistine ranks. Then David heard him shout his usual taunt to the Israelite army. As soon as the Israelite army saw him, they began to run away in fright. "Have you seen the giant?" the men asked. "He comes out each day to defy Israel. The king has offered a huge reward to anyone who kills him. He will give that man one of his daughters for a wife, and the man's entire family will be exempt from paying taxes." David asked the soldier standing nearby, "What will a man get for killing this Philistine?" and ending his defiance of Israel? Who is this pagan Philistine anyways, that he is allowed to defy the armies of the living God? And these men gave David the same reply. They said, yes, that is the reward for killing him. But when David's oldest brother Eliab heard David talking to the men, he was angry. What are you doing around here anyways? He demanded. What about those few sheep you're supposed to be taking care of? I know about your pride and deceit. You just want to see the battle. What have I done now? David replied. I was only asking a question. He walked over to some others and asked them the same thing and received the same answer. Then David's question was reported to King Saul, and the king sent for him. Don't worry about this Philistine, David told Saul. I'll go fight him. Don't be ridiculous, Saul replied. There's no way you can fight this Philistine and possibly win. You are only a boy, and he's been a man of war since his youth. But David persisted. I have been taking care of my father's sheep and goats, he said. When a lion or a bear comes to steal a lamb from the flock, I go after it with a club and rescue the lamb from its mouth. If the animal turns on me, I catch it by the jaw and club it to death. I have done this to both lions and bears, and I'll do it to this pagan Philistine too, for he has defied the armies of the living God. The Lord who rescued me from the claws of the lion and the bear will rescue me from this Philistine. Saul finally consented. All right, go ahead, he said, and may the Lord be with you. Then Saul gave David his own armor, a bronze helmet and a coat of mail. David put it on and strapped the sword over it, and he took a step or two to see what it was like, for he had never worn such things before. I can't go in these, he protested to Saul. I'm not used to them. So David took them off again. He picked up 5 smooth stones from a stream and put them into his shepherd's bag. Then, armed only with his shepherd's staff and a sling, he started across the valley to fight the Philistine. Goliath walked out toward David with his shield bearer ahead of him, sneering into contempt at this ruddy-faced boy. Am I a dog, he roared at David, that you come at me with a stick? And he cursed David by the name of his gods. Come over here, and I'll give your flesh to the birds and wild animals, Goliath yelled. David replied to the Philistine, You come to me with sword, spear, and javelin, but I come to you in the name of the Lord of heaven's armies, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied. Today the Lord will conquer you, and I will kill you and cut off your head. And then I will give the dead bodies of your men to the birds and wild animals, and the whole world will know that there is a God in Israel. And everyone assembled here will know the Lord rescues his people, but not with sword and spear. This is the Lord's battle, and he will give you to us. As Goliath moved closer to attack, David quickly ran out to meet him. Reaching into his shepherd's bag and taking out a stone, he hurled it with his sling and hit the Philistine in the forehead. The stone sank in, and Goliath stumbled and fell face down on the ground. So David triumphed over the Philistine with only a sling and a stone, for he had no sword. Then David ran over and pulled Goliath's sword from its sheath. David used it to kill him and cut off his head. When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they turned and ran. Then the men of Israel and Judah gave a great shout of triumph and rushed after the Philistines, chasing them as far as Gath and the gates of Ekron. The bodies of the dead and wounded Philistines were strewn all along the road from Shaaraim as far as Gath and Ekron. Then the Israelite army returned and plundered the deserted Philistine camp. David took the Philistine's head to Jerusalem, but he stored the man's armor in his own tent. As Saul watched David go out to fight the Philistine, he asked Abner, the commander of his army, Abner, whose son is this young man? I really don't know, Abner declared. We'll find out who he is, the king told him. As soon as David returned from killing Goliath, Abner brought him to Saul with the Philistine's head still in his hand. Tell me about your father, young man, Saul said. And David replied, His name is Jesse, and we live in Bethlehem. After David had finished talking with Saul, he met Jonathan, the king's son. There was an immediate bond between them, for Jonathan loved David. From that day on, Saul kept David with him and wouldn't let him return home. And Jonathan made a solemn pact with David because he loved him as he loved himself. Jonathan sealed the pact by taking off his robe and giving it to David, together with his tunic, sword, bow, and belt. Whatever Saul asked David to do, David did it successfully. So Saul made him commander over the men of war, and appointed an appointment that was welcomed by the people and Saul's officers alike. David and Goliath. What's up, Show It Solar? Hello there, Asila. Good morning. Welcome. When the victorious Israelite army was returning home after David had killed the Philistine, women from all the towns of Israel came out to meet King Saul. They sang and danced for joy with the tambourines and cymbals. This was their song: Saul has killed his thousands, and David his 10,000s. This made Saul very angry. What's this? He said. They credit David with 10,000s and me with only thousands? Next, they'll be making him their king. So from that time on, Saul kept a jealous eye on David. The very next day, a tormenting spirit from God overwhelmed Saul, and he began to rave in his house like a madman. David was playing the harp, and he did as he did each day. But Saul had a spear in his hand, and he suddenly hurled it at David, intending to pin him to the wall. But David escaped him twice. Saul was then afraid of David, for the Lord was with David and had turned away from Saul. Finally, Saul sent him away and appointed him commander over 1,000 men. And David faithfully led his troops into battle. David continued to succeed in everything he did, for the Lord was with him. When Saul recognized this, he became even more afraid of him. But all of Israel and Judah loved David because he was so successful at leading his troops into battle. One day Saul said to David, "I am ready to give you my older daughter Merab as your wife. But first you must prove yourself to be a real warrior by fighting the Lord's battles." For Saul thought, "I'll send him out against the Philistines and let them kill him, rather than doing it myself. Who am I, and what is my family in Israel, that I should be the king's son-in-law?" David exclaimed. "My father's family is nothing." So when the time came for Saul to give his daughter Merab in marriage to David, he gave her instead to Adriel, a man from Mahaloah. In the meantime, Saul's daughter Michal had fallen in love with David, so Saul was delighted when he heard about it. Here's another chance to see him killed by the Philistines. Saul said to himself. But to David he said, "Today you have a second chance to become my son-in-law." Then Saul told his men to say to David, "The king really likes you, and so do we. Why don't you accept the king's offer and become his son-in-law?" When Saul's men said these things to David, he replied, "How can a poor man from a humble family afford the bride price for the daughter of a king?" When Saul's men reported this back to the king, he told them, "Tell David that all I want for the bride price is 100 Philistine foreskins. Vengeance on my enemies is all I really want." But what Saul had in mind was that David would be killed in the fight. David was delighted to accept the offer. Before the time limit expired, he and his men went out and killed 200 Philistines. Then David fulfilled the king's requirement by presenting all their foreskins to him. So Saul gave his daughter Michal to David to be his wife. When Saul realized that the Lord was with David and how much his daughter Michal loved him, Saul became even more afraid of him, and he remained David's enemy for the rest of his life. Every time the commander of the Philistines attacked, David was more successful against them than all the rest of Saul's officers, so David's name became very famous. Morning, Wicked. This story is kind of like me was flushed heads up last night with Flush being Goliath. All right, fair enough. Saul now urged his servants and his son Jonathan to assassinate David. But Jonathan, because of his strong affection for David, told him what his father was planning. "Tomorrow morning," he warned him, "you must find a hiding place out in the fields. I'll ask my father to go out there with me, and I'll talk to him about you. Then I'll tell you everything I can find out." The next morning, Jonathan spoke with his father about David, saying many good things about him. "The king must not sin against his servant David," Jonathan said. "He's never done anything to harm you. He has always helped you in any way he could. Have you forgotten about the time he risked his life to kill the Philistine giant, and how the Lord brought a great victory to all of Israel as a result? You were certainly happy about it then. Why should you murder an innocent man like David? There is no reason for it at all." So Saul listened to Jonathan and vowed, "As surely as the Lord lives, David will not be killed." Afterward, Jonathan called David and told him what had happened. Then he brought David to Saul, and David served in the court as before. War broke out again, and after that, and David led his troops against the Philistines. He attacked them with such fury that they all ran away. But one day, when Saul was sitting at home with spear in hand, the tormenting spirit from the Lord suddenly came upon him again. As David played his harp, Saul hurled his spear at David. But David dodged out of the way, and leaving the spear stuck in the wall, he fled and escaped into the night. Then Saul sent troops to watch David's house. They were told to kill David when he came out the next morning. But Michal, David's wife, warned him, "If you don't escape tonight, you will be dead by morning." So she helped him climb out through a window, and he fled and escaped. Then she took an idol and put it in his bed, covered it with blankets, and put a cushion of goat's hair at its head. When the troops came to arrest David, she told them he was sick and couldn't get out of bed. But Saul sent the troops back to get David. He ordered, "Bring him to me in his bed so I can kill him." But when they came to carry David out, they discovered that it was only an idol in the bed with a cushion of goat's hair at its head. "Why have you betrayed me like this and let my enemy escape?" Saul demanded of Michal. "I had to," Michal replied. "He threatened to kill me if I didn't help him." So David escaped and went to Ramah to see Samuel, and he told him all that Saul had done to him. Then Samuel took David with him to live at Naioth. When the report reached Saul that David was at Naioth in Ramah, he sent troops to capture him. But when they arrived and saw Samuel leading a group of prophets who were prophesying, the Spirit of God came upon Saul's men, and they all began to prophesy. When Saul heard what had happened, he sent other troops, but they too prophesied. The same thing happened a third time. Finally, Saul himself went to Ramah and arrived at the great well at Sukkah. "Where are Samuel and David?" he demanded. "They're at Naioth in Ramah," someone replied. But on the way to Naioth in Ramah, the Spirit of God came even upon Saul, and he too began to prophesy all the way to Naioth. He tore off his clothes and lay naked on the ground all day and all night, prophesying in the presence of Samuel. The people who were watching exclaimed, "What? Is even Saul a prophet?" David now fled from Naioth in Ramah and found Jonathan. "What have I done?" he exclaimed. "What is my crime? How have I offended your father that he is so determined to kill me?" "That's not true," Jonathan protested. "You're not going to die. He always tells me everything he's going to do, even the little things. I know my father wouldn't hide something like this from me. It just isn't so." Then David took an oath before Jonathan and said, "Your father knows perfectly well about our friendship. So he has said to himself, 'I won't tell Jonathan. Why should I hurt him?' But I swear to you that I am only a step away from death. I swear it by the Lord and by your own soul." "Tell me what I can do to help you," Jonathan exclaimed. David replied, "Tomorrow we celebrate the new moon festival. I've always eaten with the king on this occasion, but tomorrow I will hide in the field and stay there until the evening of the third day. If your father asks where I am, tell him I asked permission to go home to Bethlehem for an annual family sacrifice. If he says fine, you will know all is well. But if he is angry and loses his temper, you will know he is determined to kill me. Show me this loyalty as my sworn friend, for we made a solemn pact before the Lord. Or kill me yourself if I have sinned against your father. But please don't betray me to him." "Never," Jonathan exclaimed. "You know that if I had the slightest notion my father was planning to kill you, I would tell you at once." Then David asked, "How will I know whether or not your father is angry?" "Come out to the field with me," Jonathan replied, and then we went out there together. Then Jonathan told David, "I promise by the Lord, the God of Israel, that by this time tomorrow, or the next day at the latest, I will talk to my father and let you know at once how he feels about you. If he speaks favorably about you, I will let you know. But if he is angry and wants you killed, may the Lord strike me and even kill me if I don't warn you, so you can escape and live. May the Lord be with you as he used to be with my father, and may you treat me with the faithful love of the Lord as long as I live. But if I die, treat my family with this faithful love, even when the Lord destroys all your enemies from the face of the earth." So Jonathan made a solemn pact with David, saying, May the Lord destroy all your enemies." And Jonathan made David reaffirm his vow of friendship again, for Jonathan loved David as he loved himself. Then Jonathan said, "Tomorrow we celebrate the new moon festival. You will be missed when your place at the table is empty. The day after tomorrow, toward evening, go to the place where you hid before and wait there by the stone pile. I will come out and shoot 3 arrows to the side of the stone pile as though I were shooting at a target. Then I will send a boy to bring the arrows back. If you hear me tell him, 'They're on this side,' then you will know as surely as the Lord lives that all is well and there is no trouble. But if I tell him, 'Go farther, the arrows are still ahead of you,' then it will mean that you must leave immediately, for the Lord is sending you away. And may the Lord make us keep our promises to each other, for he has witnessed them." So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon festival began, the king sat down to eat. He sat at his usual place against the wall, with Jonathan sitting opposite him and Abner beside him, but David's place was empty. Saul didn't say anything about it that day, for he said to himself, "Something must have made David ceremonially unclean." But when David's place was empty again the next day, Saul asked Jonathan, "Why hasn't the son of Jesse been here for the meal, either yesterday or today?" Jonathan replied, "David earnestly asked me if he could go to Bethlehem. He said, 'Please, let me go, for we are having a family sacrifice.' My brother demanded that I be there, so please let me get away to see my brothers. That's why he isn't here at the king's table." Saul boiled with rage at Jonathan. "You stupid son of a whore!" He swore at him. "Do you think that I don't know that you want him to be king in your place, shaming yourself and your mother? As long as the son of Jesse is alive, you'll never be king. Now go and get him so I can kill him." "Why should he be put to death?" Jonathan asked his father. "What has he done?" Then Saul hurled his spear at Jonathan, intending to kill him. So at last Jonathan realized that his father was really determined to kill David. Jonathan left the table in fierce anger and refused to eat on the second day of the festival, for he was crushed by his father's shameful behavior toward David. The next morning, as agreed, Jonathan went out into the field and took a young boy with him to gather his arrows. "Start running," he told the boy, "so you can find the arrows as I shoot them." So the boy ran, and Jonathan shot an arrow beyond him. When the boy had almost reached the arrow, Jonathan shouted, "The arrow is still ahead of you. Hurry, hurry, don't wait." So the boy quickly gathered up the arrows and ran back to his master. He, of course, suspected nothing. Only Jonathan and David understood the signal. Then Jonathan gave his bow and arrows to the boy and told him to take them back to town. As soon as the boy was gone, David came out from where he had been hiding near the stone pile. Then David bowed 3 times to Jonathan with his face to the ground. Both of them were in tears as they embraced each other and said goodbye, especially David. At last Jonathan said to David, "Go in peace, for we have sworn loyalty to each other in the Lord's name. The Lord is the witness of the bond between us and our children forever." Then David left, and Jonathan returned to the town. Okay, good morning. Hi, Joel. Welcome. And that's where we're stopping for today. All right, good morning, everyone. Thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Wow, so we have quite the drama going on here. First, we have David gets anointed king, and Samuel is still alive. He's really old, but he gets anointed king, and we see this process of anointing king, this pouring olive oil all over the person, is how they did this. This was the custom that the Lord told Samuel to do, so they do this. And Samuel's really nervous about this because he knows that Saul is basically this wild card who is super insecure. And to anoint somebody king while somebody else is king is quite scandalous. And most people thought that the kingdom would stay in family lines. That's just how it was done historically through times. And so Saul's thinking Jonathan's going to become king, and you can kind of see this towards the end of it too, of this story, where it's like, look, you were going to be king, Jonathan, but David here is getting the praise of all the people, and you're basically helping him. So the king is just furious at David, even though he likes the fact that he helps him and does all these things. Like he killed Goliath, he did all this stuff. He promises his daughter to David, so eventually gives his daughter Michal. But you see, Saul is still a trickster, and he's still basically doing everything he can to try to make the people like him more than David. And when he sees that that's not going to work, he's like, well, I guess I'll resort to what we've seen throughout the rest of Scripture and the evil that pertains to all people, which is when we get jealous of somebody, and we can't get rid of them, we try to get rid of them. I mean, the very beginning, we see it with Cain and Abel. We see it with Ishmael and Isaac. We see it with the wives of Jacob. We see it over and over again. We saw it all the time in Judges with different people, different family lines or whatever. We see it with Pharaoh and Pharaoh with the Egyptians when they get too big. When we get jealous or nervous, like we go to war and then we try to kill. It's like this mentality that we just have to get rid of our enemies and kill them. It's just this natural human nature, and it's this natural bad human nature. And it hasn't changed at all. If you look at stories today, and I'm sure most of you probably know family members that have done this, but when you look, especially in our culture, it goes on maybe it goes on a little bit less in our culture, but when a parent or a grandparent or whatever dies in our culture and they have a large inheritance, you can often see family members get absolutely just crazy, and they will kill off their own siblings. I mean, you see this all the time where murder happens in order to gain a bigger portion of the inheritance. Or you'll see all kinds of trickery happen with whoever has like power of authority will or they'll try to get power of authority from a really sick relative, in order that they can then divide the assets as they see fit, and they'll just start writing everyone else out of the will because they have power of attorney, so they can go change the will or whatever else. And oftentimes the will isn't there. So this concept has never left people. It still happens today. It still happens every day, and you probably have known this. You see this happen. I know it's happened to my in-laws, and like it just drives a wedge between family members when stuff like this happens. It's absolutely horrible. People are just looking for any way to get ahead quickly, and they like forget all general decency when this happens. And one of maybe the reasons we see this, right, is that Joseph was sold into human trafficking, right? Right? They're like, well, let's kill him. And then they're like, oh, let's not even kill him. Let's also profit on the deal. Let's just human traffic him to somebody and sell him into slavery. Um, right? I mean, we see just so many Bible stories like this, right? And it's because this stuff happens all the time and it still happens today. We talked about human trafficking and how like disgusting that practice is still today, in selling, like buying and selling people as slaves in the slave trade back in the day. It was a horrible business. Like there was nothing good about it. There was nothing good about it. Okay? It was just pure greed and evil. And greed and evil just don't exist in God's kingdom. And we see that there is a tormenting spirit attacking Saul, right? He had the Spirit of God upon him, but because of his jealousy and because of his disobedience, he starts falling away on this slippery slope. And he has this guy in his army. He's a commander in his army, and he's successful in everything he does. And he's like, he likes that fact, but he just can't stand the fact that he's getting more praise. Okay, and think about it this way. Like, we have President Trump as our leader right now, okay? And if one of his uh, lower level people started getting more and more affirmation for the things that are happening, how much do you think he's going to like that? He's not going to like it at all. They're going to get fired. Okay? It's the same basic principle. Okay? He wants it, and most leaders do. It's not just Trump. Like, leaders that are in power, they want to be recognized as like the sovereign leader, the most powerful. That's what people want. To give up your standing and to give it to somebody else, to give credit where credit is due, is super important. Like, it's super important to do, because it's like, not everything is about us. Not everything is about me. Okay? Not everything's about you. Not everything's about any human being, right? Like, we're all in this together. Okay? And you see this different heart. So the Lord said it to Samuel, stop judging people on the outside. Stop judging people from their looks or their height or what money they have. That's not how I judge a person. I judge a person by their heart. I judge a person by their character. And David is a man after my own heart. He, like, even Saul, who is coming to kill his life, he never tries to kill him back. He knows that he is actually the anointed king. And he's like, I can't kill the king. Now, I'm supposed to serve him faithfully, but now I'm a little bit scared of serving him, which he should be. And he's like, Jonathan, what have I done, man? Like, I'm in a, like, if you're the person who's done all this work for the king, who's gone out there, fought the battles, and done all these things, you killed 200 men, cut off their foreskin. I mean, that's super fun, right? To go circumcise 200 dead men and give the foreskins to the crazy man who wants, foreskins as a bride price, right? I mean, he wanted David dead. It wasn't happening in any way possible. So now he's taking matters into his own hand. But again, he's trying to kill the anointed. David's also anointed. David's anointed king and Saul's anointed king at this point. David's not actually acting as king because Saul is the actual king. And David is treating him so well and faithfully. And you see the heart difference. He's like, I've got to do everything in my power to serve, but I also have to do everything in my power to not get killed. And he's going to his friend and saying, look, you're the son of the king. Like, I don't know what to do, but we got to help each other. We've always helped each other. We have this friendship that's stronger than family. And sometimes friendships can be stronger than family, because Saul is about his family, and he's trying to make sure his family is set up for life. He's trying to make sure the kingship remains in the family line. And David's just loving the person that loves him back. Jonathan loves him. David loves Jonathan. Like, they're just great friends. To have a great friend like that, and Jonathan realizes what happens and just warns him, like, no matter what, even if it means he's going to die at his father's hands, he loves somebody enough to say, my own life doesn't matter as much as doing the right thing and helping somebody who's innocent, who's done the right thing. So you see just the heart matters of these two men, Jonathan and David. David is not going to take the king's life, and we're going to see this we're going to see this story continue. We're going to see this story continue with David not taking Saul's life when he has every opportunity to do so. Um, and so we're going to see just his heart in this matter of waiting for God to let him become king. God's anointed him king. He knows he's going to be king. He sees the picture that's a bigger picture than himself. He knows he's going to be king, but he also knows that Saul is king, and he's not going to take his place. He's not going to just usurp the throne, which we know Saul would do, right? Because Saul is about himself and power and money. So that said, yes, we see little pictures and glimpses of the story of Jesus here. Somebody willing to lay down their life for their friends, right? And that's beautiful. That's beautiful. And man, we all have friends. To lay down your life for a friend, you are a true friend. You are a true friend to do that. So what a great picture. So as we look at today's story, let's evaluate our hearts. This is hard because a lot of you all are poker players. And man, we're cutthroat and we want to hurt somebody at the poker table. And okay, we're playing a game. It's not life or death on the line. All right? But in the same way, is that all we're about? Is just ourselves and taking others out? Okay? Let's think about that. Or is the reason that we all hang out in a Discord together and talk at times that we care for one another? Is the reason we do study streams like on my channel and Spacies that we want to help each other and learn together and grow together because we care for one another? I hope that is what you see as opportunities to look beyond yourself. Look beyond yourself. Right? Have the heart of David here. Have the heart of Jonathan. To look beyond yourself, to look out for your friends, to look out for those around you, and to speak up, right? Goliath is speaking just curses against people and against people that are anointed by the Lord. And David's like, doesn't matter how big they are. If God's on our side, we're taking them out. Like they don't. There's no need to curse people and speak evil about them. Some of us probably have villains that just get our goats at the poker table, or in real life they get our goats, right? I had one forever when I was on Global. Just always got my goat. Didn't matter what the hands were. He was going to win the thing. It just drove me crazy. But I don't want to speak ill over him just because it's a game. I'm not going to speak any ill over wicked OJ either, even if he curses me to quail. Okay? That was not the guy who always got my goat. Happy a Go-Go was the one who always got my goat. He just always beat me in whatever hand it was. It was always him. You know what? But bless him. Bless him. All right. See, Eric's a good friend. He's gonna deal with my friend. Exactly. We're not gonna like. Anyways, okay. So as I said, let's work on making sure that what we're about is not just self. We're here to do a job sometimes. David had to do a job. We're here to play the games. We're here to enjoy life. But we're not here to speak ill will over somebody. We're not here to take them out. We're not here to take anyone out. We're here to lift people up. If they do well, great. If we do well, great. You know, love somebody even if they hate you. Turn the other cheek. All right? Anyways, so we see that today. It's a great story. David and Goliath, what a wonderful story. Seeing Saul, right? It's the two mirrors. You have Saul on one hand and David on the other. Which one are you going to look like? Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I see some of Saul in me. That's not good. Let's work on that. And I see some of David in me. Let's elevate that. Let's do more like David did. So that's where we're going to stop today. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for your comments. Great to see you all. Thank you for hanging out today. I know it was a little bit longer than normal, but it's a good story. And these stories are going to continue. That's why we're reading these stories. The stories of the Bible they can inspire us and they can challenge us when we look at them from our own and reflect on them as a reflection pool. Because we see the same things happening throughout time, which means we're in no different of a time than them. Our hearts are no different. So see where yours lines up. Line it up. And let's do well. Let's do well today. All right. I will be back with you guys for the next Bible stream on Friday morning, 6:33 Central Time Frame. And I should be back for a poker session tomorrow evening. It was so good to be back. So good to be back. I mean, I love this is one of my favorite streams. I mean, I think my favorite stream is still the study stream. But I love these things, and it's so good to just start our day with these stories and make time for this. So stalker alert, 75 streams, let's go. Spacey had her 7, and Siebla has 75 stream alert. So well done. Man, I mean, this is only part 46. I actually think there's a 47, but it kind of was like a hodgepodge when I was on vacation. So she has not missed a stream in a long time. Study streams, poker streams, the Bible streams. Well done, Asibla. Well done. Give her a clap. She's rocking it. All right. It's good to be here. It's good to joke with friends. It's also good to encourage one another. So I encourage you today, go out and be honest, be true, and be helpful to others. Yeah, I'm sure you had to watch a couple VODs. We can't always be there for everything. It's just the way it goes. So that said, love you all. Love you so much. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out with me in the morning. I will see you guys on a stream soon. Until then, have a great, wonderful day.